Big up, guys. Welcome to Spurs Corner. Your host, me. I'm not. It's a really weird ground because normally it's Stel. If it's not Stel, it's Mari. But today it's my turn to host with the boy in the boys' absences. We've got various things going on, so I am joined by yours truly, Maz, and by Josh, who's going to be giving us a lot of insight and then, you know what? We'll let Josh. We'll find out slowly. When Josh starts speaking, you will understand what expertise he has and what he will bring in to the stream. First and foremost, big up to every single one of you in the chat that's following us, is commenting right now, asking where's Sousa. We'll get to that if we can. And big up to everyone who doesn't watch it live and watches it later on. But make sure to smash that like to the stream, help the channel grow, and subscribe. Many of you follow us that haven't subscribed. It doesn't cost anything, guys. Make sure you smash that subscribe and activate the bell so you'll be notified every time we come on live. So, like I said, I'm joined by Maz. Maz, how are you, sir?
Good. What an eventful week it's been, Iggy. What an eventful week. I think this has been definitely one of the most up and down weeks we've had. And I know we say this every year, but
it's the life of Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it?
This is the history of the Tottenham, right? So there we go. But you know, we had to go live today, even though still didn't want to turn up because we won. So people are right.
You know that's gonna be
the narrative, right?
Stole is absent, knitting the more scarves. Maybe who knows? Josh, how are you, sir? So give us a little bit of background for yourself for those who don't know you. What you've looked into from the West Ham and the Borussia Dortmund game, which we will discuss. And yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just a classic Jekyll and Hyde week for Spurs so far. And we're only Wednesday too, by the way. But we've still got a weekend game to navigate. My background is from the high performance athletic side. So I was a high level swimmer. So I've been supporting Spurs since 2008, and have recently, well, not recently, it's about 7 years ago, I moved to the US. So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia at the moment, which is just, there's just not a better time zone to watch Premier League football, any European football. It's just perfect. And so as a result of that, I've really started to sort of bed down my support for the team, because it's very difficult in Australia to get up at 3 in the morning and 5 in the morning to watch a match. So, so I have a different take. I don't have anywhere near the footballing acumen that you guys and Stel and anyone in the chat has, but I see sort of patterns of behaviour and certainly the language that people are speaking, and I try and make a connection between what is being done and what is being said and what are we seeing on the football pitch. That's probably where I sit.
Perfect, Josh. We've got plenty to get into, our teeth to get into between the West Ham and Borussia Dortmund and Jekyll and Hyde, like you rightly mentioned. You know what? I say this every week. Spurs give us so much content. I mean, it's never a dull day at Spurs, and for content creators, for channels like ours, it's just the gift that keeps on giving in that sense. So we've got plenty to discuss. Okay, well, look, we won it in Bilbao. It's possible that we might win it in Budapest. I mean, this Tottenham team, in the Champions League.
Maybe Frank Iggy, right, is decided, look, forget about the Premier League. Forget about those
He's been on the phone with Ange, yeah? He said, forget about that.
Right? Just going to win the Champions League and I'm done.
Bilbao, Budapest, both start with the letter B. So, maybe. Look, Spurs are fourth in the Champions League table. Guys, I can't make any sense of it. And like I said,
what a contrast, though, right? I mean, I was looking at the Champions League table, and you're thinking that just does not marry up whatsoever to what's happening in the Premier League.
And Borussia Dortmund are a decent side. They're doing reasonably well in Germany. So, look, let's before we get to let's touch upon the West Ham game. We're not gonna like endeavour too much in the West Ham game, but I just wanted to get your guys' take. I mean, I'll give you mine in a second, but I want to hear from you guys. First of all, obviously the team that we put out there, which is, to be honest, it is as good as 11 to deal with West Ham and how they've been playing. Any of our 11 should have been seeing that game through and getting the 3 points. That wasn't to be. And right from the approach to the game and how we started and how we basically the tempo that we set out, it was nowhere near the races. Maz, Josh, let me come to you, Josh, first, man. You're a guest. I want to know from you what you saw from that West Ham game from our point of view, and where do you think it kind of went a bit. But it didn't go our way. I'm trying to put it nicely without swearing.
Yeah, look, before the game, a couple of weeks ago, I said, look, I think we'll probably win 2-0 because I thought, like, when you look about who you are is who you consistently are, right? So when you look at who Spurs consistently are they beating mid-tier to top of the ladder teams? No, they're not. They tend to get on top and win games in certain scenarios, and that's when we get to Dortmund. The result yesterday was just a perfect example of the most favourable scenario that Spurs can find themselves in, and then that led to a result, right? So if we look at West Ham, I said I think that we'd beat them 2-0 because when you look at that profile of a game early in the season and partway through the season with some of the teams, the easier teams that we've beat, I thought, yeah, this is one of those matches where I think we can get on top of them and not necessarily win the game in a short period of time, but certainly place it in the minds of the opposition that you're not up to winning this game today. When we're in those scenarios, we're a very hard team to beat. The sad thing is it just happens against the poorer teams. Within 10 minutes, I said, in my mind, I was watching the match saying, if we're going to win this game, we have to go down 1-0. Do you think about that psychologically?
Yeah.
And why is that? Because the best football we play is when we're behind. Typically, it's in the second half, but that's what again, like that's Spurs. That's when I look at them from a high performance outfit, I see very, very. They're just strange things. I've never seen a club or an organisation so close to the pointy end of the sport or of sport that has to get into a position where they're behind before they feel any sense of pride or pressure to perform to where they need to be to win the match. And invariably at this stage, we don't play like that long enough in a match to put it to bed. We just don't. We play for 45 minutes. We play for, the second half of the Villa game for probably 15, 20 minutes. And we looked, hang on a minute, we could challenge. But we're not consistently across a 90-minute period.
Is that Josh? Is that the players? Is that the manager? Is it a combination of both? What is that all about, guys? Really quick before you answer that, Josh. I'm not sure what's going on. People commenting about Sava and stuff like that. I don't know what I've missed. I'm not sure exactly what it's all about. But can we please, he's not here. And I don't want to be talking about a person that's not here to even speak for what it is. And I don't know what's going on. I've been busy with work, so I'm not sure what's happening in the YouTube world regarding Sava. But please, can we not speak about people in the comments that's not here not even here as a guest to speak for himself? So, guys, I'd really appreciate it if Maz, your name keeps coming up. I don't know the background of it all, and we're not here to discuss what it is that you guys are talking about. We're just here to discuss about West Ham, Borussia Dortmund, the upcoming game against Burnley, and what kind of Spurs we're going to have in between all of this. So sorry, Josh. So sorry, just to
yes. So like there's personal pride, and I spoke on with Ben and Brian Daigle last night on We Are Tottenham, and there's personal pride. You walk across the line, the white line, onto the pitch, and are you going to walk off that line happy with your performance. That's one part of it. And this is why, I've been thinking that this squad, I certainly think it's better than what we're seeing from a performance perspective. No question about that. Is it good enough? Good enough for what? Certainly not good enough to win the league. It's probably not good enough to get European qualification. But I think the question people are probably wanting to be answered is, how big is the gap from what we're seeing to the true potential of the team, both at an individual level and as a team level, right? Because that's the grey area, and that's the area that has to be filled before we actually turn from, oh my God, what are we going to get today, to, hang on a minute, I've got some belief, and that belief is built from the consistency of the performance of what I'm seeing, right? So this is why I think it is the manager, and it is more the manager than it is the team, because it doesn't matter what the coach is. My coach, right? If you were to ask me, Josh, why did you turn up to swim on a daily basis? There was two answers. One was that I had a goal, right? The other was I was spending time with someone who believed I could be better than what I currently was. That is the role when everything is said and done, tactics, team selection, training, programming, all of that sort of stuff. The bottom line for a manager is to implant a belief in each player and the group that, connected to him, they can be better than what they currently are. Everyone, no, there's very few people on the planet that don't have that in order to be better. There's always someone who looks at you and believes that you can be better than what you are. That is the job of the manager, right? And that is where we are seeing little spits and spurts of good periods of play, and then absolute people going into, disappearing on the pitch, right? How can you have the skill set that we saw in the majority of the first half against Dortmund? How can you have the skill set that allowed us to beat City 2-0, Burnley 3-0, West Ham 3-0, like all of those games, but then it completely goes missing, right? That disparity in performance comes down to the emotional connection between each individual player and the squad and the manager, and collectively the squad and the manager. And that's Josh, the manager's job.
So we're not in sync, essentially. No. We're not in sync. No, Maz, I'm going to ask you your take in just a sec. I've got this little chat. Thank you very much, a user 4872 with £2. Why the F? Well, Maz, you can maybe answer this one. We are linked with why the F? Well, we know what F means, but we're linked with Somerville and West Ham second goalie. The West Ham second goalie, I've personally not heard too much about, but Somerville I've heard, and mate, I don't think he's a bad player at all.
Yeah, no, he looked good against us. I haven't seen enough of him against other teams to really draw any conclusions. And in his first season, he didn't do much in my book. Do we need more youngsters in the squad? No, I think for the reasons that Josh brilliantly outlined, you need more experienced heads. People that can galvanize their teammates and set an example, and work, maybe be the bridge between the manager and the team. And those experienced heads tend to do that a lot more than the younger players. I mean, obviously, that's not to say that there isn't younger players that can also do that, but generally experience trumps in that regard. So I think it's just conjecture. I don't think, if we do sign Somerville, I don't think that the club is behaving in a manner that we want to see as a fan base. Buying more kids is not going to fix Spurs in the short term or the medium term. Without turning this into a massive long rant or monologue about Spurs, you should always.
That's Somerville. That's the second goalie. We'll comment on them. Let me just finish on this. For any players that we get linked to, I think that the club need to look at what is expedient now, and what is going to make a material difference for example, next season,
or the season after. And I think if we're buying players for them to be good in 2 or 3 or 4 years' time, I don't think that's the right answer for us at the moment. We've done that. We've got enough kids with potential. We need experienced players.
I think Somerville, those like 24, 25 years old. I think is that a good age though? So he's not. He's not old,
Is he that
and
old?
he's not young. So he's
Are
not.
you sure?
Yeah, I think he's. I'm gonna look it up now, mate. But the second goalie thing, I don't know if maybe Kinski's asking for a bit more game time. It could be a swap or maybe an opportunity for Kinski maybe to get a bit more game time. I'm not too right.
Yeah,
Somerville.
that's a fair
he's
point.
24
I thought it
years
was
old.
younger. I genuinely thought it was younger, so I'm wrong about that.
He's 24 years old. I just looked him up.
But do we need another player in the mold of an Odibert or Tell? That I guess that's my point. If it's not an age thing, you know.
Maybe I mean I'm listen. I'm assuming if there is any truth in that, and Somerville comes in, it's maybe because Tell is on his way out. Because obviously Tell has been dropped from the Champions League spot. There was already discontent, if you like, from Tell playing time. He'd really voiced it, maybe not publicly, but there's already been talks of him not being happy with game time. The fact that now he's been dropped from the Champions League's places to allow Solanke back in the team, something that perhaps we can touch upon as well, and see what your thoughts in that. I don't know if that was the right call personally, because it just limited us in attacking options with Richarlison out, with Kudus out. I just felt it limited us, not because I think Tell's necessarily a fantastic player, just even less attacking options in the Champions League squad. But look, that's just my opinion on that. In regards to Somerville, let's see what happens in due course. There's another 10 odd days before the transfer market closes. I suppose there's no point talking about players that are not here. Let's talk about the ones that are here. So, Maz,
before you say that, thank you to Language Ranger. I think it's like literally our first member ever, number one.
If I remember correctly, like I met this gentleman, Language Angels. I met you. I think his name is Paolo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where did I meet him? It might have been in Hoddesdon somewhere. I can't remember exactly right in this moment, but I may have even got it wrong. But I might have got the gentleman's name wrong completely.
You're too famous.
If I have, I apologise in advance. Maz, what did you make? I mean, we've heard Josh's what he had to say in regards to the West Ham game, and like I said, we ain't going to go in too much into that because I think living it once was bad enough. To actually relive it again is even more. I mean, given West Ham's record and what they've been doing this season, and the fact that they haven't been able to buy a win for God knows how long, so they came to White Hart Lane, won. I'm glad it's you, Paolo. Yes, I remember you now, mate. Big up and thank you very much. So we go. West Ham come to White Hart Lane, get the 3 points. They live another day. And yeah, what is your take on what you saw Saturday afternoon? Because I felt like crying personally, man.
Wow, what do I say? What a disappointment that game was. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to beat Josh's analysis of it. It's. I think it's something that we've been seeing most of the season, bar a couple of games, Man City, Brentford, and more recently Dortmund. I think that there is a big disconnect between the players and the manager, and for whatever reason, the players aren't convinced with the tactics that are being played, and they're fragile-minded. And I'm glad that Josh mentioned that when you have this inconsistency in performances, and you see a different side to us playing against Dortmund one game, and then you lose a game like West Ham, it shows the disconnect between the players and the manager, and it can't be that all the players are bad, and that's one of the narratives. Certainly, Stel much more than me has been saying all season. I don't believe that the players are as bad as what we saw against West Ham. I just simply don't believe that. And the evidence for that is when you see games like Man City, the Brentford win, the Dortmund win, when all of a sudden they turn up. And there's been, odd periods in other games where we played really well. When we went, we lost a few players against Liverpool. We like had loads of possession and we were dominating. And you're thinking, why are they turning up now? And it's this. Again, it goes to what Josh was saying. Why is it that we need to go a goal down for them to suddenly switch up a gear and start playing for something? It's I think a good manager just gets more consistency and better performance out of these players for sure. Now we could be wrong, right? If now in the next 5 games we see this incredible consistency and everything clicks, then I think we'll all be the first to praise Frank and say, well done, you've turned it around. We can look forward to something is building. But that West Ham game, it was just horrendous on many levels. We made a really poor team look like there were this amazing or at least a team in the top half of the table, and we made their average or below average players, I should say, for West Ham look like they were much better than us. And you throw in a player like Gallagher, who's come from a totally the Spanish league, albeit so he has to, I guess, readapt back to the Premier League because it's a completely different type of football from the Spanish league. Spanish league is a lot more technical, slower. The Premier League is a lot more physical, fast-paced, and he has to readapt in that one game. And he's coming into a team that just isn't clicking, and he just looked lost in that game. Gallagher just completely lost, and we had no one of real quality to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, no, we're not losing today from us. Albeit we had possession in the second half and we did have opportunities to come back, but it was just a horrendous game. And that toxic atmosphere was just horrific, wasn't it? I mean, I'm all for the fans showing displeasure at the players. I think it's their right to do that, especially with how PTSD this fan base is. But I've got to admit, I don't like our own fans singing to the manager "You're getting sacked" in the morning. I think that's just a little bit distasteful. That they should be pointing their anger at the board, at ENIC, for the problems that we're seeing.
That kind of leads me on to the next point. So that's a great assist there, Maz. I'm just vaguely before we go on to that very point he just said at the end of the match. I listen. I thought West Ham deserved the win for what they displayed, given what they have come from, defeats, and they got their own mess. To come to White Hart Lane, taking advantage of the fact that we having a bit of a wobble in the league, at least, and I thought for what they displayed on the day, I have to be sporting in saying this. I thought they thoroughly deserved the 3 points in what was from what I saw of the game. But before we go on to talk about what you just mentioned about the fans' discontent, if we can call it that, the toxic the toxicity that has become at White Hart Lane in terms of how when things go wrong, the manager's getting in the neck. And you're right, the fingers should be pointing at the board, and we'll talk about the protests as well that happened. Just brief point on our new signing, which we haven't really discussed too much. Gallagher. Conor Gallagher, like you said, he got thrown in. I know you just mentioned Josh. I want to have your take on what you thought of Gallagher. From my point of view, just to touch upon the player, I think he's a good signing first and foremost. I know people have met. I don't know, maybe because of his Chelsea past or whatever, but And I saw some of the Chelsea fans were they're not happy that he signed for us. So that tells me that they think we've got a good player. That's how I perceive it. I think we've got a good player. But like I've said many times, Maz, you probably know this better than I've said. Any player that comes into a team goes into a context, and he's the product of that context. So if he goes into, you put Conor Gallagher in this Arsenal team right in this moment, I guarantee you he'll hit the ground running, because the context is a solid context. It goes into a team which it's full of confidence, a very clear and direction on what they want to do and what they want to achieve. Everyone's in sync. So for a new player coming into that team, would understand the grasp that straight away and spring from that. When you come to our context, a team that's Jekyll and Hyde, you guys mentioned it brilliantly earlier. Jekyll and Hyde. He maybe thought he might come in as a substitute, get himself back into it. No, he's starting that game again with all due respect, a novice himself, Archie Gray, in the Premier League. So he's starting with him because the others are injured. So it's due to necessity that he's been thrown into the team in difficulty. We lose the game, but overall, if you look at him per se, how did you find Gallagher, and what do you think he could bring to this team in games to come?
When watching him play, because I know there was talk around signing him when Ange was around, and when he was still with Chelsea, I believe, and obviously I knew of the name, so I did a little bit of I watched a bit of his more recent games and just to get a feel for the player. And my first thought was, it wasn't surprising that Chelsea let him go. Now I got the same feeling the other night when I watched him play. Now it's his first match, sure, he's got to find his place. But it's my hope that here's, when you look at our squad and how fragile we are physically now, but also mentally, and our generic application to what we do, just that fragility there. It's my hope that someone like Gallagher, who has got, experience at a club like Chelsea, and then he's gone to Spain, so he's worldly, like, as far as his experience. It's my hope that he brings that edge of experience and starts to certainly bond with Cudi and Porro and some of the other, because you got to look at this team. It's like a puzzle. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that's blurred, right? It's a blurry jigsaw puzzle. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea where we're going. Each little piece of the puzzle, if you can put a clear piece of the puzzle in, take a blurry part out, put a clear piece in, and over time, whether it be manager, whether it be squad, whether it be whoever it is that is central to the high performance department of the club, that's what you've got to do. It's my hope that Gallagher is that guy, but he has to very quickly connect to the stronger characters in the club, because otherwise what will happen is he will just be another fragile element of something that is underperforming. So I think he's got the potential. I'm just not sure he can overcome the headwinds that are inevitable.
Josh, I just want to jump in because when you said fragile, that's exactly the word that I was just literally in the forefront of my mind. Is that is, I think that is why we brought him in, because he isn't fragile. I think he's proven throughout his career.
Chelsea captain,
he
was
he was like he's a young man, but he's a very, very professional, strong-headed young man, and Poch loved him because he is that type of character. And you made some amazing points, and the things that were running through my head as you were saying that is, when Poch came into Spurs, he quickly took out those blurry pieces that you were referring to and put in the cleared pieces into that squad, even though there might have not been the most technically gifted players, but it brought clarity to what he was trying to do, and professionalism and resilience, and they believed in what Pochettino was saying. And maybe Gallagher for Frank is that type of player that's going to do that. I do agree with you though. When I personally saw Gallagher playing for Chelsea, I didn't think he was anything. I didn't think he was a bad player, but nothing really stood out for me. But at Crystal Palace, I thought he was brilliant. So it depends. It depends what version of Gallagher we get, right? Let's hope we get the Crystal Palace Gallagher and maybe not the Chelsea Gallagher. But I've seen stats floating around on Gallagher that he's got good stats for a midfielder. There's no denying that. So I for one, I guess this is my. I've interjected here. So my thoughts on Gallagher is I'm glad that we bought him because I do think he's a good player. Whether or not he's the long-term answer for Tottenham Hotspur, I think that doesn't matter. I think we need to get we need to get into position as Tottenham Hotspur like we used to. Is we buy a player, he serves us for 2-3 years, and then we move them on if they're not good enough. Not buy a player, hold on to them, let them gradually degrade because the club's all over the place, then we never get rid of them. And we've got players like, I don't know, Ben Davies in the club for 11, 12 years, however long it's been at Spurs.
I think the biggest missing component to Conor Gallagher is James Maddison. I think those two players,
ballers,
in absolute ballers, similar enough but different enough. Like I just think those two in midfield could run an absolute muck, and I think there's some congruency with how they play, how they, I guess, their footballing intelligence, where you see them on the pitch. You've got to have those. You've got to have those connections, particularly in that area of the pitch. Because it's a defensive and an attacking position. I really think. I think those two together, you'll see them both level up.
Look, man, we can only hope for the best of them. We'll find out in the next few games. Started with Burnley, how he gets on there. I'm sure he'll be back in the team for that one. Wanted to touch upon what we've just before we spoke of Gallagher, how we ended that West Ham game. There were boos. There were sacked in the morning. But we had a protest, or small one, be it. In terms of the numbers, there was numbers between 100, 150, 200 tops. We got a stadium full against West Ham, boos, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's obviously directing their hate at the number one person that they can direct it to, which is the manager. And I don't think he should shirk any responsibility of how this team he's been. He's definitely has a part to play in this, if not a big part, by all means. But I do feel that the fans are not. It's like, how can you have 60,000 stadium booing at what the display is, knowing fully well that these owners so far and continue, and nothing has changed for me personally, and this is my own opinion, to believe that anything has changed, even with Levy not there and so forth. I still think, Lewis's kids and what have you. I don't think I haven't seen anything to make me think that anything has changed from regards to the board. Why is our aim only the manager? Like I said, I don't think the manager is. Listen, do I think this manager is good enough? No. His position for me is becoming unattainable. So for me, it's only a matter of not if, it's when it happens. So let me just put that out there before. But I don't think he is the only one that has that's the problem at Spurs. I think there's people high above that keep. Let's say, look, let me put it this way: the manager gets sacked, he's gone. I think even with these owners, in 12 to 18 months' time, with the new manager in place, we'll be back there again. So this is what I'm trying to say. The manager isn't always sacking the managers. Should be the thing, but not the only thing. Why are we not getting bigger protests against this board, against these owners, to say, look, buck up your ideas, because this is just clearly not good enough. The standard of the players, who, they're good players. They should be doing better than what we did. They've shown that they can do better than what we did against Borussia Dortmund. So that's why the title of this stream is called "Are the Players Rubbish?" Because which ones are they? The ones against against West Ham, the one shown yesterday, is a consistency thing. It's a mentality thing. It all stems from the club. They set the tone that everybody should adhere to. And when I see a protest of 200 people, I'm thinking fair play to those 200 people and letting their feelings know that it's not just Frank, it's the club itself. Why we got not bigger fans, a bigger amount of numbers backing that instead of just saving yourself. Because the way I see it, if you moan and boo at the stadium, then you leave the stadium, have a drink, go home, it's all forgotten about until the next game. For me, that's not good enough. You shouldn't be booing and you shouldn't be going at, there and then in the stadium. Move that and go on to the protest and protest outside the stadium. And then carry on doing so if you're unhappy inside the stadium. But to then say, well, I've paid my money, I've got the right to boo and cheer as I want. But then that doesn't, for the good of, I don't know how to word this, guys. Maybe you guys can help me. But for the good of Tottenham Hotspur, for the greater good of Tottenham Hotspur, just cheering and booing inside the 90-minute stadium and then going home is not enough, guys.
Go on, Josh. I've spoken tons on this issue, so
Okay.
This is your time to shine on this issue.
So here's what I see, and like sometimes some of the, I won't say insults, but just the things that are thrown at me, that I'm not a true fan and this, that, and the other. The success and my emotional response to the team are completely separate to each other, right? And I'm the same with every other sporting team that I support. If they're crap, I say they're crap, and I tell them why. And I'm not just going to blindly go week to week, just on the rises and falls of a good or a poor performance. And I just want to speak about the board, because this is some, when they made that announcement of Carlos, the most, I won't say excited, but the most upbeat that I've been was when they made that announcement. Carlos Rafael Merson, I think his name is, from City Football Group. When they made that appointment, and within the post that they put on X, that it said his job is to build a high performance structure. I was like, that's different language. And so my ears were pricked until I found that he reports to Lang. You know what I mean? Like it should be the other way around. If you're the director of football operations, everyone else in the high performance, hierarchy operates underneath you. Which leads into my second point. There are 5 directors on the Tottenham board. 4 of them, one of them is a non-executive, okay, which means he's an advisor. He doesn't have a vote or a decision-making authority.
Yeah.
4 people, that's as centralized as it would ever get in an organization or a group of people who are supposed to be able to bring new ideas, challenge the status quo, for the good of the team. Most boards in the US of sporting teams, they have 10 or 12 people. So there is proper decentralization of, and love to hear what you think in the corporate world, Maz. Do you know what I mean? This is the fact that there's so few people who are making decisions. How many?
What I would say, Josh, I don't know. I've never worked for sporting organisations. I guess I don't know how the board's composition would look like. But what I would say, to add to your point, and I do agree with it entirely, is how many of those board members are also real sporting, footballing people, rather than just commercial, banking, financial, whatever industry that they're from, and
exactly,
and especially with your background as well, is what's even from the corporate side of things, you really rely on your leadership at board level and below to really understand the industry they're in and have a real knowledge of it, so that when they're aligning the organization and making decisions for the organization to reach its goals, they know why they're doing it. I don't think at Spurs currently that they know what they want. And we know they want money, of course. We know they want a packed stadium, of course. We know they want to sell lots of beer and food and have Beyonce concerts and stuff. Any business wants to make money and profit, right? That's how businesses and corporations survive, of course. but there is that other element, certainly in elite sport, where there's pride. There's that they want the glory. They want sporting success to accompany that financial success. And I don't think that ENIC have ever demonstrated that. And in reference to like the protests, Josh, and I'll let you come back in because I want to specifically talk about like the numbers that turned up. But will those guys look at the protests as big corporate financiers looking at it and think, oh, 100 people turned up, that's nothing to worry about?
Oh, they would not. They'd be laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'd be laughing. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's even a blip on their radar, So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I agree, 100% agree with you, Maz. The board do not have the high-performance sporting expertise to be making these sorts of decisions that the club needs for them to move the needle as far as their performance on the pitch, whether it be the league or Champions League. It doesn't matter. They don't have that expertise. And that's why I've always said until that changes, and the bottom line is they have to change, then I don't think we're going to see. We'll see these little peaks that we manage to put out, not frequently enough for sure. But the other thing I want to mention is when you look at the fan base, what are they looking to get out of it? I remember when I was 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I had a break in swimming and I started as a casino dealer. And there was this Scottish guy, Jimmy, great guy. And we'd always talk about the Premier League. And I would ask him, I said, tell me week to week what happens in the fan base. And he literally said that the sentiments of the week, everything within your week, right? Related to football, not related to football, rises and falls on the performance of your team, right? So if your team wins, then you're like, oh, this is going to be a great week. And you're going, very positively into the next match. If your team loses, you're suicidal. It's one or the other. It's, so when you look at the bulk of fans, that's how they live week to week, which is where they really don't care what happens at the end of a season. It's what happens this next match. That's all. That is the greater percentage of any fan base, right? Because they're in, but they're not. It's not like they've got an umbilical cord to the club. Like, so they pay their membership fees and they come and spend 60, 80 quid, whatever. They'll get a beer, they'll get something to eat, they'll buy their merch, right? That is the ends of their investment in the club. So I certainly think that it's like anything, whether it's politically, any sort of protest, it has to be consistent for it to gain momentum. So you need two things. Whoever's organising these things we're doing this every single week or every single home game or whatever. We're doing it until we get change. And then on the other side of that, you've got to hope that the team actually continues to perform poorly, because then you've got an ecosystem where the people who are booing are now, you know what? I'm going to go to that protest. I've had a gutful. I'm at my breaking point. And then that person brings 5 on, and then you've got 1,000. And then you keep doing it. And then you've got 3,000. And then all of a sudden, membership tickets are down 10%. You know what I mean? Like, these are trying to orchestrate
Josh,
this.
That is sort of what happened last season, right? When with Ange and constantly losing, and then Change for Tottenham organised, came in as well because the previous people that were protesting, when I was doing it, Estelle was doing it, and Graham and Dago and all of that, we only managed to get 200-300 people, but obviously with Ange doing so badly that season, and the fan base effectively been just constantly demoralized with loss after loss after loss. Come the end, when the protests happened, we had 2,000-3,000 people turn up, which for Tottenham, it was massive. It's a massive protest. I mean, when you compare it to other clubs, it's not that big of a number, but for Spurs and the way our fan base is, that was massive. I think the problem is and again, without flogging a dead horse, and I feel so deflated with it all. To be honest, Josh and Igor, I've just, I've almost given up on our fan base ever doing anything to show the displeasure, and I hope this never happens, but it may be our downfall, or it may be too late when they do wake up and do something about it, because I think every Spurs fan wants the same thing. We all want our team to win. We all want what's best for Tottenham Hotspur, and it starts on the little things. I think it might be that are the club charging us reasonable ticket prices? Are the beers in the stadium reasonably priced and of good quality? Is the food good? The little things, that make a match day. Then it's like, do they have good fan clubs and fan engagement events that draw the fans in? Do they treat the youth that are coming to Tottenham Hotspur in a good way, in terms of giving them concessions or cheaper tickets to encourage the youth to come in and build that community in the next generation of fan base? Then it goes to the playing side. Does the club have ambition? What is the club's goal? What is the plan for the high performance side of the business? And then in turn, okay, does the manager that you bring in, or the directors of football, or the management share that vision? Do they want the club to execute on that goal, and are they demanding of the club that they execute towards that goal? Does the manager want to execute that? Does the players? Is the club behaving in a manner that will facilitate them achieving that goal? And it's all these catalogue of things that need to align. But it always, for me, it starts from the smallest thing. And if the fans are just there because it's a day out, and they don't think about the sporting success, that's where I think we've lost our way in the last 20 years, because we've been so browbeaten by the way Levy and ENIC have run the club, and the way that they've diluted what the fans should expect Tottenham Hotspur to be doing. The current generation don't really know what it's like to win.
I think, and I've tried to look into it a little bit more. Like, I tried to analyze this a little bit within depth. You're right, to an element. There's been a change of generations where the new generation, like my boys, I've spoken this about my boy's only seen one trophy, the Europa last year. He's been around, he's been 16 years old, so he doesn't know any different. So he knows, he's aware of the board, and he's aware, like, of the discontent, and he's aware of how people, this has been going on for more 25 years. So I think there is an element. You're right, man. I think there's an element of people that kind of given up a little bit to go against the board. So they think, well, what's the next thing we can do? We can only really engage in how we're happy with the manager, which is why when I hear things like, now that Gallagher's come in, perhaps Pochettino in the summer after the World Cup can reunite together, and Pochettino coming back at Spurs. See, we're looking at Pochettino. First of all, the feeling that he left us in 2017 when playing that brilliant football, some of the best football that I've seen at Tottenham for a very, very long time. The fact that he can engage and play and use young players to play his way of football, we love Poch. So it's all on feelings, because we cannot do nothing else above Pochettino manager-wise. Thinking, okay, look, there's no point going after them because nothing's going to change. We've given up on them. That's how I feel that the majority of the fan base have generally given up on them, even though they see them for what they are. So it's like, what's the next thing I can do? At least encourage and say, look, let's at least bring Pochettino back, because he gave us some really good football. He was some young, talented football. But there's a recruitment side to that, which kind of alludes me to one of this comment here. Thanks, a user, again, for your donation, mate. He's sick of our recruitment. And that was the thing. Under Pochettino, what we did have is a really good guy there, Mitchell. that was good at recruiting, worked with Pochettino, bringing in the players, and then Pochettino did this thing, which he had obviously bought from Southampton. So bringing Pochettino for me would be a good idea. I do like the idea of Pochettino coming back, but only if there's a backing behind Pochettino that will make him succeed in where he was failed back in 2019, because Pochettino was failed by our owners and by our management, because where we needed to back him and elevate, because we was neck and neck with Liverpool by that point, we didn't. Liverpool took one direction, we took another from that 2019, and that was because we didn't truly back Pochettino. Now, I would have Pochettino back, no problem, but not for him to seal the same fate that he received in 2019, because it was painful to see it then. It would double
Iggy,
pain me to see that happening to him again.
I know, Iggy. I'm really conflicted with this, and the reason why I'm conflicted is I'm of the thought that where we are now, we really need to stop the bleeding, and we really need to get someone in who can steady the ship into not only just with the team and you know and meet the expectations of what the hierarchy want or whatever, but with the fan base as well. We need that steadying influence, that calming influence on the club, and someone like Poch, I think the fans would accept as that calming influence, even if he doesn't do as well as what he did in the past. I think that the fans would be willing to give him time.
Just to quickly answer to this, then or since move on, we are trying to move on, but the problem is that since 2019, where Poch made those comments of, we got a good, lovely house, but the furniture, and we need to go for a painful rebuild. Fast forward that, James, from 2019 to 2026, we still haven't done that painful rebuild. So when you say move on, the only thing that's moved on is time. But what's needed at Tottenham Hotspur hasn't, unfortunately. So that's why we keep bringing that conversation back up. But look, let's move on from that. We go into yesterday's game, and we're coming up to an hour into the stream. We still haven't touched upon yesterday's game. Borussia Dortmund. Let's let the painful rebuild of West Ham. Right, that's all we go on to Borussia Dortmund. So post West Ham, we want to sack the manager. Everyone's go after him. The players are getting absolutely annihilated online. Gallagher must be thinking to himself, what the hell have I just signed up for? All of this good stuff. And then we get to Borussia Dortmund. I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't even bother writing anything on X pre-game because I was so nervous about it. I was even nervous about watching it, guys, because I saw Borussia Dortmund. I'm thinking the only thing that someone said to me during that day said, look, Spurs in Europe have been a different team. We haven't been beaten at home for 24 games in Champions League. We've got a good pedigree. Like last year, we've done really well in Europa. This year, we've actually started really well in the Champions League. The form in the Champions League continues. We go to fourth, winning that game last night. Obviously, subject because there's a lot of Champions League football as well, so that maybe that could vary a little bit. But we're in a good position. We're in a good moment in the Champions League. It seems to be that the domestic league is not reflecting on the European Champions League, and the European Champions League is not reflecting on what's happening in the league. We start the lineup and thinking, what is going on here? We brought Tell out. We bring Solanke back in. And I want to know your thoughts first of all on that one, because they're big call, guys. Because we haven't got a lot of attacking options. We mentioned Kudus, Richarlison. Attacking options are limited. We take another one out of the equation. We don't have Gallagher in that Champions League, not for this round. We changed formation, it seems. We go with a back five or back three, whatever. It was Destiny was used as a left centre back, pushing both Spence on the left and Porro further up. The midfield is what it is, and we've got two attacking options with Odegaard and Simmons, who has an injury. Apparently, his ankle's blown up, so we don't know how long that's going to be. And Solanke making his first start at top. We see the first 15, 20 minutes, guys, and this is a different Tottenham side. This is Tottenham going for the jugglers, attacking, pressing from the front, putting them under pressure. You're like, whoa, what is this team here? I was looking at my son. He was looking at me and thinking, are these the same guys that we saw on Saturday? and obviously the sending off facilitated things, no doubt. But Spurs were already on top of them even before the sending off. Josh, Maz, talk me through this Borussia Dortmund game, Tottenham side that you saw before your eyes, because if Jekyll and Hyde, I mean, you guys, I keep going back to that what you said, Josh, earlier, Jekyll and Hyde. This could not be any further from the truth, man. What did you see yesterday?
So going back to what I was saying about
what you saw yesterday. What's going on, guys? In the chat as well. You guys let us know if you've got any questions for us. We'll try and read out what you guys thought of the game yesterday. Josh, Maz, take it away, man. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So look, again, going back to what I was saying about, when you've got enough history of performance like we have now across the season, whether it be in the league or in the Champions League, there are certain scenarios that we do really well in. And there was enough of those elements yesterday for us to play well. So, and I've seen some things online where, brilliant Spurs is this turning the corner? This is one match we're talking about, right? Like we just got beaten by West Ham at home. And so when you look at Dortmund now, okay, they're coming second in the Bundesliga, but I mean, when you look at the Bundesliga, it's pretty weak. I think of the 18 teams, there's only 6 with a positive goal difference, right? So not even half the league has a positive goal difference. And, there are other teams around them. Obviously, Bayern is way ahead. We're at home. We dominated early, right? So we started positively. And on top of that, Dortmund did not have an attacking effort in the first half. Okay, so when you look at how did it end up that we were 2-0? Yeah, well, not even forget about the second goal because they were down to 10 men. But how did it get to a point where we were dominating? And there are some elements of that game that had to take place for then Tottenham to get the upper hand. And once they had the upper hand and Dortmund didn't respond, it was easy sailing. It was plain sailing. Look at the goal that we scored. The most common goal that we've scored is corner and defender scoring. That's how we score goals, right? So when you put us in that favourable position against an opponent that is clearly off it, they weren't really challenging us in any way. You give us a corner. You get our defenders up in the goal face, and we score a goal. That method of goal scoring is our most popular goal this year. Okay, so when people ask me, like, oh, isn't it great we won 2-0 and blah blah blah. What disappointed me the most was the second half, because now, granted, we've got some injury concerns, and I'm not sure. Does anyone know Bergvall? Where's he at?
I think he was struggling, man. I think he had that. Didn't he against West Ham? I saw him have that same sort of issue. So I don't know. It's obviously something, but because I don't know why we even risked him. But
again,
there was not really a lot of alternatives.
Yeah. So again, and this is where I get accused of just being a real cruel, ruthless sort of commentator on this sort of stuff. I'm not. I love my Spurs and I love anyone who supports Spurs. But when you've had such irregular and unpredictable success for a long period of time, one of the downsides of that is you get a fan base that is immature. And I don't mean immature in the sense of their behavior, so to speak. I mean, when you've had predictable and sustained success, And as a fan, you've been taken along that journey and waded through the difficult times to get to a point where you no longer are who you were, but you are now an elevated version of who you were that puts you in the place to win Champions League and win the Premier League. You get a robustness about you that your emotional, you've got less downs and ups in your emotions because you know that success happens over time, not week to week, right? So when I see all these fans going, oh, wow, that everything's turning, everything's clicking now, and Frank's amazing. It's like, no. Nothing's changed. And the reason why nothing's changed is because the second half against Dortmund was the consistent performance that we've seen that has led us to be 14th in the league, right? So what I would have loved to, I'm looking for change. I'm looking for, they come out and they really put their foot on the throat of Dortmund and score another 2 or 3, as they should have, being a man up.
Killer instinct.
Killer instinct. And again, going back to their character, enough of the right players, they don't take that attitude to the second half to put 4 or 5 past Dortmund. Yeah. What they do is they do it to scare the pants off Burnley. That's why you do that.
Josh, on that point, Pochettino used to be that type of manager. Like he didn't want us just to win by 1 goal. He wanted us to put teams to the sword and win 3 or 4
put teams to the sword, absolutely.
And to give credit to Ange, he was very much like that as well. He didn't want us just to win 1-0. He would prefer us to go and score 3 or 4 goals and blow the teams away. So it's interesting you raise that point, that why when there were 10 men down, why we didn't put our foot on their neck and really hammer home our advantage. Could it be though that Dortmund are a much better quality side than maybe the first half would suggest, and they got a little bit more of a foothold in that game and didn't allow us to do the same things as what we were doing in the first half?
Yeah, Maz, potentially that would be. I mean, I can't comment so much because I just don't watch Dortmund play at all. But I know inherently how we behave as an outfit on the park, and it's classic. And I mean, even in the earlier games where our league position was a whole lot higher and our performances appeared to be better. How many times did we hear Frank parked the bus, scored a goal? I mean, that's exactly what happened in the PSG game, right?
Yeah.
We invited PSG back into the match, and they played like PSG for 15 minutes and put 3 past us. Yeah. Right? The team allowed that to happen. Now, against 10 men and Dortmund, I would be confident in saying they allowed it to happen. The cost wasn't as much because, at any point they could, lift and when you're 10 men, you're obviously getting pretty tired, and psychologically you're thinking far out, like how do we get 2 back? We're away, yada, yada. So yeah, nothing changes for me at all as far as Frank or the team performance, irrespective of the first half. How many first halves or windows of time have we seen where the performance has been that this season? Plenty. How many of those have resulted in cultural performance change? None.
Josh, I agree with you, but I also disagree with you. I felt I was really pleased with that Dortmund game. I thought that Frank got the tactics spot on. Obviously, there's a bit of fortune in that as well, in that they had a player sent off. But I saw shades of the tactics we did against Man City with the formation and our defenders turned up. I thought Danzo was imperious. I thought Romero had a really good game. I thought Udogie had an excellent game. It's one of the best games I've seen him play in a very, very long time. It reminiscent of the Udogie, you saw when he first came to Spurs and his Udinese days in terms of
that left centre back role kind of suited him as well.
He's a big boy, Udogie, as well. He's actually quite a big boy. I thought Spence had a phenomenal game. Although you did see some of the limitations of Spence being on that left side where he hasn't got that left foot on him, and he got himself into key positions where if he had a left foot, he would have been a lot more dangerous, I think. Gray had a really good first half, albeit he faded in the second. Same with Bergvall, had a good first half.
Really young
albeit-
midfield, Baz.
Yeah.
Bergvall and RG Gray in the
They've done
Champions
well,
League
but
game.
again, we've seen that
And
before,
Byfield
right?
came on as well in the second half.
Byfield, yeah, wow,
17-year-old.
what a debut for him. He done really well. He looked, wow. He looked like he didn't look like a 17-year-old. He looked like
Unbelievable.
unbelievable stature for a 17-year-old. But I thought the midfield done really well. Bergvall and Gray. But we've seen that before, when we played PSG, albeit we lost, but those two midfielders had a lot of energy about them and they got around the pitch. And we saw that again against Dortmund. What that game, just to jump on the second half, I thought they managed the second half really well. I think they were comfortable, they were in control. They contained Dortmund really well.
We're 2-0 up, guys. We're 2-0 up. The fans are happy. They're looking around and thinking, do we really want to rock this boat right now? Do you know what I mean? Let's just sail through, get the points, make sure these guys out here go home happy, make sure they don't see our goalkeeper who hasn't conceded anything.
I want the day off tonight.
Let's relax a little bit. I think that's what happened.
But what I would say
this ain't good news, by the way, if this is true.
Does it change what I think of Frank? No, it doesn't at all. Because what we need to see is consistency. We need to see these performances, this adaptability from him consistently over 5, 6, 7 games for us to think, oh, there's something there. What it does prove to me is effectively what certainly us as a channel have been saying along. Look, we're not saying that our players are fantastic, they're the greatest, but they're certainly not 14th, 15th in the league level quality players. They should be way better than that. What that way better is, maybe 10th, 9th, 8th, something like that. If we're lucky, maybe higher. I doubt it with the quality of players that we've got, because I don't rate our forward lineup. I don't rate a lot of the individual players that we have. But I'm really happy with that game. I went away feeling really content and happy, and in a way, in a weird, sick way, because I really don't like Frank and I think he should be sacked. I sort of was happy for Frank, because if he is going to get sacked, at least have something to hold on to from a weird way.
Anyway, guys, if it's okay, I got to jump off.
Thanks.
Had a great time.
Josh, you're always welcome to come on in, buddy. Whenever you want, you're more than welcome. It's great having your insight, and it just gives us, if nothing else, a different take to what perhaps we'll go and see. You give us a different take on it all. But thanks for coming on, buddy. I really appreciate your time.
Cheers, Josh. Cheers,
take care.
What I would say is, absolutely, we've discussed certainly on this channel and when we're on Tottenham away. If we're picking up results, I don't give a damn what style of football we play, because what I want Spurs to do is I want us to aim for something, have a plan. If we're going to be a cup team, then fine, be a bloody cup team, but make up your mind. And if we're going to go for the Prem or go, try and achieve something in that respect, then bloody go for it. And if that means that we have to get 1-0 wins, then get 1-0 wins. But we've got no idea what we are as a club. And the reason why we've got no idea what we are as a club is because ENIC and the leadership don't set the goal, right? They say, we want to win titles. Okay, you want to win titles. What's your plan to get to winning titles? It's certainly not Lange, and it's certainly not Frank. So what the hell are we doing? So that's me.
No, the vision, the direction, the target, the aim. It all comes from above. It filters through, and one of the things, I've said this so many times over the years. It's just like, all ships must sail in the same direction, and when you don't have a clear vision and direction you want to take, it's very hard for anybody. You just go by day to day, but it's just literally day to day. You live in the day by day, and there's no 6-month plan, a year plan. This is day by day, and that's how Tottenham. That's Tottenham is. It's a day by day situation. Every game has. It's not a journey, the Premier League, or it's not a journey. It's just today we're gonna play like this. We'll hope to do well. And the next game, well, we'll see what happens. Let's worry about this one. There's no way, man. At the end of the year,
because Iggy, it's like what Mark. I don't know which Mark it is, but it's one of the Marks. Levy did say he wanted to win the Champions League and the Premier League, but it's like it's all very well saying it, but you haven't implemented a plan to get there. And you know what is like what symbolises this for me, certainly this season. It's Paratici, right? Paratici comes back, and I've said this again because I say the same bloody thing every time. Paratici comes back, and what does he see? Everything that he's implemented, the day that he got left and banned, they ripped it all up and binned it, right? He comes back, and he's like, hold on a minute. Everything I've implemented for you, when I left, you've binned. And now you want me to re-go at this again. Right, and now you can't decide who's the bloody boss. I've got to work with that dickhead Lange. And he didn't even want Frank at the club. He wanted someone else, right? And this is the problem. It's like you bring in Paratici. If he's the one who's going to execute your plan, then he has to have the reins of the club and make the decisions. You can't have what Enoch wants, what Vinay wants, what Flange wants, what Frank wants over and above what the director of football wants. It's madness.
Maz, I don't know about you. I just feel like there's too many people at Spurs.
Too many chefs. And not enough footballing people. This is the problem.
Listen, I've said... Forgive me if I sound like I'm on loop, man, but the biggest footballing club in the world, Real Madrid, have got El Presidente, they've got the general manager, director of football, if you like, and then they've got the coach.
Yeah, exactly who's responsible.
That's the line, guys. The goalkeeper, the midfielder, and the attacker. That's what they are. Presidente. They got the general manager, director of football, whatever you want to call them, and they got the coach. There's a clear structure right there. There's no messing about. There's no Lange, Flange, this, that, kids, Lewis, book. What the hell, man? Exactly. You need to have a clear structure of that, and that way everyone has its own role, and they become accountable for those roles. Right now, if you had to go and point the finger at anyone on our board, it becomes very difficult because you don't know which of them which of them even have, so guys, go just that one there, go. We're away. Go to the 2 Mark Show Sheriff channel. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like there.
Yeah, good guys.
And get their numbers up. Let's get them to 1,000 as quickly as possible.
Great guys, good content. They go to the protests and everything.
Absolutely, awesome, man. So go and make sure you go and raid that channel with a subscription. And whilst doing that, do one here as well. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry.
But to add to the point, mate. So it becomes very difficult. This is why I'm saying, like, because the manager is the only person, the only figure that we actually see. So when things are not going well at Tottenham, this is who we see. We just see Thomas Frank, whoever the manager is, and we go for them.
Let's be honest. The reason why we're in such a dire state and everyone's arguing and all of this is because we don't know what the hell the plan is. We don't have that figurehead. We don't know who's the person we need to point at. It's like, is it?
And that's why the managers get it in the neck, man.
Yeah, is Frank making the decisions? Is it Lange's bloody plan we're executing? Is it Vinay's plan? Is it the Lewis's plan? Is it fucking Paratici's plan?
We don't know.
We don't know.
And this is where I feel that if you're really discontent about how things are going at the club, you've really got to point the finger at the owners, 100%. At this club, because doing so at just a manager, and don't get me wrong, Thomas Frank is not good enough. I can't carry on saying this enough. He's not good enough. but getting rid of him won't resolve the greater issue that is at Tottenham. We've said this so many times
We
at this
said this so
channel,
many times.
previous channel, and the previous channel after that, previous channel after that. But we carry on, and look, in the hope that hopefully people can see it one day. But Maz, we're not going to go on for too much longer, mate.
No.
But I do want to touch upon, unless there's any other things that you want to bring up for the conversation, the Burnley game. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
What I'll say to you for the Burnley game is what Tottenham is turning up. Is the West Ham Tottenham turning up or the Borussia Dortmund Tottenham
I
turning
got
up?
a feeling, if you're asking me, I got a feeling that I think the Champions League thing, we're going to curb that because I think, if I'm not correct or mistaken, the result of, is it Frankfurt, went our way. So, Frankfurt lost 3-2 to Cardiff, which means that they can't qualify for the next stage of Champions League. I'm not sure what that means for us. But I think we're kind of good to go, man. Mark Swift, big up, mate. Mark
Cheers,
Swift,
Swifty.
our original G, been with us from day one.
Loves to dig me out.
Yeah, biggest supporter. But you know what? It's all in good. It's all in love. It's all back and forth. But it's all love. Mark Swift, big up to you, mate, and thank you very much for your donation. We're going on a little bit longer. We're going to touch upon the Burnley games. So don't go anywhere just yet, mate. Burnley. So I think we're going to park the Champions League thing to one side because we're in a good moment there, and I think we will revisit that again, and I think we'll do well again in Champions League when it comes up again. But I think personally we're going to revert back to where we were. Now, I'd love nothing more to go and get an away win. Like you said, be solid. Just go there, be solid. Get your game. Even if you win 1-0, man, take the points and come home.
Iggy, look, if Frank defaults back to his, what is his formation? 4-5 or 4-2?
I don't know. Every game he changes, man.
Changes it. But basically, when we attack, we're in the 4-3-3, right? If he defaults back to that crap that we do, that doesn't work, where we're just crossing the ball into empty space and no one's getting on the end of it, and we lose, oh my God, the fan base is going to go apoplectic. I think they will, because when you see how well we played against Dortmund and how, we saw a level of performance we haven't seen since the Brentford game and the Man City game, and you see that, and then you go to Burnley and if he reverts back to those same tactics, we're going to go bananas.
Well, look,
what the hell?
One player that looks like he's going to be out for this weekend is going to be Bergvall. From what I'm reading online, I just had a quick nose in what's going on in X. There is talks of him being out for 2-3 months because he's just aggravated that injury even more by playing yesterday. Yesterday we had to play him because we literally had. You saw we had Byfield coming on, and it would have been a case of playing him or maybe playing a defender or on the bench. We didn't really have a lot of numbers.
Isn't Gallagher's going to come back in because he can't play in the Champions League? So Gallagher will come back in.
But I think he can. Can he not? Can he not come? Am I wrong in saying they can come in with the next round of Champions League games? Guys in the chat, can Gallagher become available for Spurs in the Champions League in the next round of games? It's confusing. Like it does, the rules change all the time, and if that's the case, then we got Gallagher. If we don't, then I really don't know, man. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, Sar's coming back from the AFCON. Gallagher from playoff stage onwards. Okay, so with Sar's coming back, but it's not a great look, is it? We're really, really. By the way. What I know we're just flipping back and forth. What did you make of the thing? I forgot to ask Josh. I did ask, but what did you make of dropping Tell in the Champions League?
Well, you know my feelings on Tell. Generational.
I know you don't like him, but in terms of,
I don't like him. I do feel for him though. I don't think he's as much as I don't like him. In a way, I don't feel he's been treated right because from his perspective, as a kid. He's been bought in for what, 35-40 million quid. He said, remember, he said, I want to come to. He came to Spurs instead of Man United, right? and then we signed him permanently, and then Frank isn't playing him for whatever reason, doesn't include the Champions League squad. Then he gets games here and there. I don't think he's been performing very well, so I can understand why he hasn't been playing him. But then to add him back into the Champions League squad,
To take him
then
out.
to then take him out again. Oh, I don't.
It's an ego.
What does-
That would hurt, man. That would hurt.
What does that say to the other players, though? I mean, does Frank have that gravitas where he can just mess around with players like that? I don't know, man.
I see Tell pushing for a move before the end of the month. I know people wouldn't be too bothered about it. A lot of them would be like, "Yeah, so be it." And
I don't care if it gets sold. By the way, I'll be really happy if you sell him.
That's where the Somerville links are coming from, because it's obviously that left-hand side. Tell plays there, so yeah, and obviously like Moani can play on the left-hand side. Although he's getting a lot of stick because I was Borussia Dortmund game. I didn't like his approach in the sense of
He doesn't
he
want to
doesn't
be
put
at
himself
Spurs,
about.
mate.
He doesn't
He doesn't
chase.
want
I
to
mean,
be at Spurs.
I saw him chase that ball, and then I saw Spence. You remember that one that Spence was like about 59 yards behind him, and he's chased. He's gone past him to go and get that ball. I know maybe he's on an offside position, but it's just general approach.
The guy does not want to be. It hasn't quite worked for him in the first few games, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't scored his goals. You know, we've been losing or playing bad, and he's thinking, you know what? I just don't need this shit. That's what I think of him.
But you know what? But this is the thing. Like, it's World Cup year. Juan is trying to get into that France team. Gallagher has joined Spurs to get game time to force himself, hopefully for him, into that World Cup England squad. Mate, there's a lot to play for. To say that for me, I mean, I agree with you, by the way, but I just think it's crazy, like,
I don't know,
to
mate.
not put a shift in. It's a mad one. But
I saw the Moani from Juventus a little bit. No, I'm going to say I watched loads of games, but I saw a couple of games here and there. Saw highlights. I saw a bit of Moani when he was at PSG. So he's a good player for me. He's a good player, but at Spurs, he's terrible. And that's why for me, he doesn't look like he wants to be here. For him, it's like I didn't get my move to Juventus. PSG didn't want me to be playing for them this season, and they've loaned me out to fucking Tottenham Hotspur. That's what I think. That's the vibes he's giving me.
But the thing is, what we need, man, at this club, we need players with personality. I think that's the one thing. You can have all the talent in the world, man, but if you're not noticed for your personality and have something about you, I'd rather have a player in a team that's got a little bit less talent, but gives his absolute, everything on the pitch. That's why players like Bergvall, not Bergvall, what was his name? Hoybert. He wasn't always loved for his talent, but he gave everything to the team. And I think those are the kind of players that we require, because leadership.
I don't know why we got rid of Hoiberg, if I'm honest.
It's one of them ones.
We got rid of our only DM.
Where...
maybe he wanted to leave, right? But we've got, and again, I'm not saying Hoiberg was the answer, but we got rid of one of our only DMs that gave everything.
He was a leader, though.
A leader, yeah, exactly.
And that's the kind of thing I liked when we recruit the players, the future players. Yeah, of course we want them to be ballers. We want to be talented players. We want to have experienced players. Experience will be great, and I think as well we need to really start looking into the deep in the character a little bit to bring us a bit of steel, a bit of steel. I like players that have steel about them. Yeah, I love quality players, but I want to see steel. I don't know, maybe because it's the kind of character I see in myself, and I like to see my team or whatever team I'm looking at. I like to see a little bit of representation. You want to feel as a fan that you're represented out there in the pitch for the shirt that you love. And that's the kind of character I would like to see in a Spurs shirt. I don't know, man. But anyway, look, we're going a bit off track a little bit. In regards Burnley, man, what are your feelings towards it? What
very simple, Iggy. Look, I don't know what Spurs is going to turn up. If Frank reverts back to his same tactics that he did before, that 4-2-1-3 or whatever he does, or the 4-3-3. and we just end up just crossing the ball, hoping that someone's going to head a goal in or one of the defend. I don't have good feelings about it. Not because we shouldn't be beating Burnley. We absolutely should be beating Burnley. But I don't know what Spurs is going to turn up. And I don't believe Frank hasn't shown me enough to believe that he's going to go into that game with the same positive attitude that he went into the Dortmund game. If we're going with the same attitude as the Dortmund game, I think we'll blow them away, even with our crap forwards that we've got. But who knows? I hope. Look, I'm going to put this out there. I don't want Frank at this club. I don't like him. Right? He's really let me down. I'm not that always in favour of him coming in anyway. But yeah. I just, there's too many things. We're not going to go through everything you said. I just don't think he's right for Spurs. However, if he proves us wrong, wicked. I hope he does prove us wrong.
We'll be the first ones on it saying, guys, we got it wrong, man. And do you know what? In a way, I would love nothing more to come here one day and say, do you know what, guys, we got it wrong, man. Maz, we got it wrong. I got it wrong. Stell's got it wrong.
Love
We've
that.
all got it wrong. And
absolutely love that.
Me personally, this is the difference. And by the way, to answer this question, I absolutely would sign Palhinha. Do I think we're going to sign him? I don't. If Palhinha is not convinced of what's happening at Spurs,
he won't want to sign.
There's no way he'd commit his future at a club where he's.
But don't you think, though, Iggy, he is 31 or he's 30, going on 31, if he isn't already. Don't you think he'll be thinking, you know what? How many years have I got left? 2-3 years, maybe max.
Maybe that's on him.
This is his last hurrah.
Yeah, that's on him. That he has to decide that. Poch back in the World Cup. We mentioned it earlier on, Mark. Listen, I would love nothing nothing more than have him back. Having said that, I want if he does sign, I want him to sign and come back to us knowing that he has signed because he believes he's going to get the back in and all of that stuff. I'm not sure what this is all about. Savage quit YouTube. I've heard the comments on that. Look, I don't know if Savage quit YouTube or not. I don't believe he has. Sava loves YouTube and he loves talking about Spurs. And if he has, well, I think he'll be back, guys. So,
I think if he has, it's a shame.
Listen, love or hate, I think he provides brilliant content for Spurs YouTubers. So I don't know how true it is, but if it is, I don't think it.
Just for the record, Sabra and me, we don't have a problem with each other. We text.
Yeah, I know. I've been reading this stuff. I said it all night, guys. He's not here, so I don't know what's happened. I don't think he's quit YouTube. I think maybe it takes time out. But he'll come back, and I think if you know. He's a really good content creator. I love Spurs as much as we all do, and I hope he is intriguing. I'm sure he'll be back in no time for sure. Final thoughts before we wrap up this stream, Maz. What are you hoping? What are our next games? Let's have a butchers. Obviously, we know that Tottenham have got Burnley. Let's have a look. Burnley away. We've got Frankfurt away. I think that we should be all right with Frankfurt.
We should
away,
be all right.
And then, boy, after that Burnley and Frankfurt, come February, my man, oh Lord, City at home, United away, Newcastle at home, Arsenal at home. Boy, one after the other. February is going to be action-packed.
If Frank is staying, Iggy, if Frank is staying and the board have said no, we're not going to sack you, we're going to back you. They've got 8 days left, 9 days left of the window. They better buy him some reinforcements and good reinforcements because we've got a depleted squad, right? And he needs to pull the almighty rabbit out of the hat in February. Otherwise, I'm telling you, if we don't beat Burnley, right?
Yeah.
And we lose against Burnley, we're in deep trouble. We're in deep trouble.
End of the day, this is how it is, right? Next Wednesday, we're going to do a stream. It'll be the 28th. So not too far before the end of the window. So, listen, me personally, if we're not backing the manager, we're not 100% behind the manager, I don't really foresee a lot of signings unless like someone like Tell leaves, and we might bring someone in to cover. But other than that, I don't see a lot happening there. There's going to be, like I said, we'll have the City game, United game, and the Newcastle game before there's a break. There's a 12 day gap. I'm assuming it's international duty before
we've got
the Tottenham Arsenal game starts. So, boy, we have got a month of February fire. We might be in the middle of winter, but this is as hot as it's going to get in February, and I'm here for it, man. Maz, big up, man, big up, and have a great remainder of the week. I mean, I know we hear each other every day with talking of Spurs whilst we're working and stuff like that. But it's like for Spurs. The thing is, we might do this once a week, but Spurs chat in our Spurs
constant.
Is fire all day long.
Lots of banter every day. Lots of banter every day.
So guys. I'll just before we go, I just want to say a massive big up to a user for your donation, my man, and thank you for the new members in the chat, Mark as well. Big up to you, man. OG, always. Big up to every single one of you in the chat and comments and feedback and subscribe to the channel and all of that stuff. Big up to those who don't watch it live. Big up to those of you who are watching it now, and make sure you guys let us know in the comments below, man, what your thoughts were and what have you. And we try to read as many comments as possible. And
what I want to know in the comments, if people do reply, is what do you think is going to happen in February with those 5 games that are coming up? That's what I want to know. What is
fire? All I'm going to see, I can just tell you now, we're just going to see fire emojis.
Burning.
Burn, like the house burning, guys. It's you know what? It's proper sink or swim. The fear is that we're going to, the vision is that we're going to sink, but the hope, which is what always kills.
Well, we thought Dortmund were going to pummel us, right? And Frank will be gone, but he's still here, and we won. So
you know that. Guys, next week obviously it'll be towards the end of the month. The boys, Stel, JP, Mari, hopefully will be all back as a 5. The guys had a few bits to do this week, but everyone should be back next week. And like I said, it's going to be the end of the month, end of the transfer market coming to an end that week. So we will see where we're at numbers wise. We'll see where we're at with injuries, because Bergvall one, like I said, it's a massive loss because we're really depleted in that area. So we'll see how we survive that, and we'll see what good Spurs can do at Burnley over the weekend. I'm sure we'll be hearing from us and everyone else. But having said that, have a good week, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and all of that good stuff. And we shall see you soon. End of the stream, guys.
Everyone. Thanks for joining.
Good night, guys.
Bye. Good night.
We stand shoulder to shoulder.